The wind howled through the narrow alleys of a half-forgotten port town. Lanterns swung weakly, shadows crawling across peeling walls. Luffy had wandered away from his crew, half from curiosity, half from hunger. He was looking for meat, as always, when something caught his eye. It wasn't food. A scrap of paper fluttered in the night air, snagged against a rusted nail jutting from the timber frame of a boarded-up tavern. Luffy reached for it absent-mindedly, expecting just another notice about taxes or cargo. But when he pulled it free, the edges tore slightly, and the faded ink revealed a face. Her face. Big, unblinking eyes stared back from the poster, eyes he recognized instantly. The name scrawled beneath was smudged with age, but it was enough. He knew. No way. It was her. A woman he had once saved as a child. Or maybe she had saved him. The memory was fractured, like glass cracked by time. She had vanished from his life before he ever set out to sea. Yet here she was, immortalized by the Marines in a wanted poster long forgotten. The bounty was old, the parchment nearly brittle, but the numbers still glared in bold, black ink. She had been worth more than many pirates he had fought. And now, she was somewhere out there. Alive? Dead? He didn't know. The sound of footsteps echoed. Heavy, deliberate. Luffy turned. The poster crumpled in his hand. A cloaked figure stood at the end of the alley, hidden in shadow. The man's voice was low, graveled with years of smoke and salt water. You shouldn't be holding that, boy. Luffy tilted his head. Do you know her? The stranger stepped closer, and for a fleeting moment, his cloak shifted. Luffy glimpsed the marine insignia sewn onto his belt. His jaw tightened. That woman, the man said, was a storm the world tried to bury. And if you're wise, you'll throw that paper back into the gutter. The A stilled. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Luffy didn't move. He couldn't. The stranger's gaze burned through him, a warning heavy with secrets. Then, without another word, the man turned into the night, vanishing into the labyrinth of streets. Luffy stayed at the poster again, his grip tightening. He felt something stirring in his chest, the same unshakable instinct that always drove him toward danger, toward truth. Her face on the paper seemed to look at him, pleading, daring. And then, behind him, Zoro's voice cut through the silence. Luffy, what the hell are you holding? Zoro's figure loomed behind him, one hand resting on his sword. He wasn't smiling. Luffy never looked this serious unless it mattered. Luffy held out the poster silently. Zoro frowned, eyes narrowing as he studied the faded image. For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of distant waves crashing against the port. Who is she? Zoro finally asked. Luffy's mouth opened, then closed. He wasn't sure how to explain. Someone I knew, a long time ago. Zoro's gaze lingered on him, skeptical, before he shoved the paper back into Luffy's chest. Then we need answers. Something's not right if a marine's creeping around old posters. Before Luffy could reply, a crash sounded from the main square. The night erupted in shouts, boots pounding against cobblestones. Marines. The crew had learned to recognize that sound anywhere. Damn it, Zoro muttered. They are sweeping the town. The two darted back toward the harbor, weaving through alleys. But everywhere they turned, Marines poured in, rifles gleaming under lantern light. Someone had tipped them off. At the docks, Nami and Sanji were already cornered. Marines shouted orders, rifles aimed. The air crackled with tension. And then, above the chaos, a voice rang out, a name barked like a curse. The name from the poster. Heads turned. Marines weren't aiming at the straw hats. They were searching for her. Nami's eyes flicked toward the paper in Luffy's hand. Luffy, what did you find? Before he could answer, the cloaked marine from earlier appeared at the edge of the crowd. His hood was down now, revealing scarred features and a gaze that seemed to pierce through bone. You're too late, he growled to his men. She's already here. The Marines erupted, rifles raised. Luffy clenched his fists. He didn't understand. Was she nearby, watching them? Or was this all a trap? Then the stranger locked eyes with him again. If you value your crew, Straw Hat, burn that paper before dawn. Her ghost will bring nothing but ruin. The night roared with gunfire, and as Sanji leapt forward to shield Nami, Luffy shoved the poster deep into his vest, heart hammering. Somewhere out there, she was alive. Always, she was coming for them. The crew fought their way through the ambush. Cannon fire lit up the harbor, sparks raining across the water. Every straw hat moved like a storm, Zoro's blades flashing, Sanji's kicks cracking through riflemen, Usopp's shots dropping lanterns to cloak them in smoke. But Luffy was elsewhere. Even as he struck down Marines with a rubber-clad fist, his mind burned with that face on the paper. Why now? Why he? The cloaked Marine barked new orders. Block the harbor. She can't escape. Not they. She. The words chilled Luffy. Amid the chaos, a figure darted across the rooftops. Swift, shadowed, impossible to track. Only Nami caught sight of her silhouette, framed by firelight. Her breath hitched. Luffy, someone's here. He spun, eyes locking on the fleeting shadow before it vanished again. His chest tightened. She was here. A whistle split the air. Marines surged, forcing the straw hats back. The enemy wasn't after them. They were bait, pawns in a larger hunt. Captain! Usopp shouted. What's happening? Who are they after? Luffy's knuckles bled against the dock planks. He couldn't answer. He only knew the truth was inches away, chasing him as much as he chased it. And then, amid smoke and screams, she appeared. She dropped from the rooftops like a blade from the sky. A cloak billowed around her, and when she straightened, her face caught the firelight. It was the same face from the poster, unchanged by years. The world seemed to fall silent. Even the Marines froze. Her eyes swept the chaos, cold and steady. Then they locked onto Luffy. Something unreadable flickered in them. Recognition. Regret. Luffy. She said his name. The dock shuddered as another cannonball slammed into the harbor. Shouts exploded around them, but he heard only her voice. Nami's eyes widened. She knows you. Luffy stepped forward. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the storm. Why is your face on this poster? The woman didn't answer. She only turned, slicing through a line of Marines with movements so fluid they seemed unreal. Her blade flashed once, twice, and then she was gone again, leaping back into the shadows. The Marines scrambled to follow, their shouts echoing into the night. And Luffy, heart pounding, stayed into the dark she had vanished into. His crew was calling to him. The battle wasn't over. But in that moment, he knew one thing. He would chase her, even if it meant tearing the world apart. Hours later, the battle had scattered. The straw hats regrouped in the forest beyond the port, their ship hidden by the tide. Wounds were tended, tempers flared, silence hung heavy. Luffy sat apart from the fire, the poster in his hands. He kept staring at it as if the paper would speak. Nami broke the quiet. She looked right at you, like she knew you. Luffy didn't look up. She does. The crew exchanged glances. Zoro finally asked, then tell us. Who is she? Luffy's voice was distant. When I was little, before Shanks gave me his hat, there was a woman who saved me. From bandits. From Marines. From myself. Maybe. She taught me things I didn't understand. Said I'd be a captain one day. Then, she disappeared. Silence. Even Brooke's usual levity was gone. Her name. Nami pressed. He shook his head. I don't remember. Not fully. Just her face. And now, this. He held up the poster. The firelight flickered across the faded ink, making her expression almost alive again. Sanji exhaled smoke from his cigarette. If she's on the run, the Marines won't stop until they have her. And if she's connected to you, then we're all in danger, Zoro finished. For once, Luffy didn't argue. His eyes were heavy, thoughtful in a way that unsettled his crew. The forest rustled. A presence lingered just beyond the firelight. The crew tensed, weapons ready. And then she stepped out. Her cloak was gone, replaced by simple traveling clothes. She looked tired, older up close, but her gaze was steady. You haven't changed, she said softly, eyes on Luffy. The crew rose, blades and guns aimed. But Luffy lifted a hand. Wait. For a moment, time hung between them. Old memories flickered across her face. You left, he said, voice low. I had to. Why? Her eyes glistened, though no tears fell. Because the world wanted me dead. And if I stayed near you, they would have wanted you dead too. The words cut through him like a blade. Behind him, Nami whispered, Luffy. But he didn't answer. His gaze never left hers. The fire cracked, shadows shifting. And then, distant horns sounded through the trees. Marines. Again. Her eyes hardened. They found me. The forest exploded with light as Marines poured in, torches blazing. Rifles leveled, voices barked orders. The woman drew her blade, the years of exile sharpening every motion. Luffy stood beside her. You're not fighting alone this time. She glanced at him, the faintest smile ghosting her lips. You're still the same fool. The straw hats surged forward as one. Steel clashed, flames roared. The forest itself seemed to tremble under the battle. But amid it all, Luffy and the woman moved together, a rhythm buried deep in memory, reborn in blood and fire. Marines fell, shouts broke, and the line wavered. Yet the cloaked commander from the harbor appeared once more, blade drawn. His eyes burned with relentless hatred. You should have stayed buried, he snarled at her. Her grip tightened, but before she could strike, Luffy stepped between them. His voice rang out, fierce and clear. She's with me now. The commander's strike met Luffy's fist, rubber against steel. The impact shook the clearing, air cracking like thunder. The force sent the commander staggering, stunned. The straw hats seized the moment. Zoro's blades flashed, Sanji's kick sent rifles scattering, and Nami's staff whipped lightning into the night. The Marines broke. When silence finally returned, the forest was littered with shattered weapons and groaning soldiers. Smoke curled into the dawn. She lowered her blade slowly, chest rising with exhausted breaths. Her eyes met Luffy's. You've grown, she said softly. And you're still alive, he replied, grinning. For the first time, her expression cracked, a laugh, soft and pained. But as the sun began to rise, her smile faded. They'll never stop hunting me. If I stay with you, your crew will pay the price. Luffy shook his head. We're the Straw Hats. We fight for our friends. That means you, too. She looked at them all, at the way Nami's wary gaze softened, at Zoro's silent nod, at Sanji's half-smile despite his bruises. And for a moment, her resolve wavered. I can't, she whispered. You can, Luffy said simply. Because I won't let you vanish again. The forest grew quiet. Then she sheathed her blade. Then, for now, I'll sail with you. Relief washed through the crew, though they said nothing. They knew the sea was wide, and fate cruel, but for this moment, it was enough. Weeks later, as the Thousand Sunny cut across open waters, the wanted poster lay forgotten in the galley. Its ink faded further each day, the paper fraying with salt and sun. But sometimes, late at night, Luffy would glance at her across the deck. She stood by the rail, staring at horizons only she seemed to recognize. And he would smile. Because no matter what storms came, no matter what ghosts the Marines tried to chase, she was here, not lost to time, but alive in the same endless sea. Weeks later, the Thousand Sunny carved its path through endless blue. The sea sparkled, gulls circled, and the world felt deceptively calm. The wanted poster lay forgotten in the galley. Its ink faded further each day, the paper curling and tearing until it was no more than a ghost of an image. But at night, when the crew laughed and argued and bickered as always, Luffy would sometimes glance at her. She often stood at the rail, hair unbound, braid loosening in the sea wind. Her storm-gray eyes looked always toward horizons no one else could see. And though she said little, he understood. She carried years of silence, of battles fought alone, of scars the world had buried. She was a storm still restless at sea. But now, she wasn't drifting without anchor. One night, as the stars shimmered above, she caught Luffy staring. She didn't scold him. She didn't look away. Instead, she smiled, small, real, the kind of smile that felt like a promise. Don't lose that hat, she murmured. Luffy's grin widened, hand instinctively reaching up to touch Shanks's treasure. "I won't. Not ever." And for the first time, she believed him.